All right, Coach Simp, you got to give me the bio, man. Where you from? Where's home? Born and raised? Give me the background.
Born and raised Midwest City, Oklahoma.
All right.
Ended up going through Midwest City. Was a part of that first championship with Terry Evans. Ended up transferring, and ended up at Edmond Memorial.
Right.
That's where I graduated from in '99. So, which it ended up playing Midwest City in the semifinals in state that following year.
Man.
Ended up getting a little revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. We lost in state in the championship, but
got to the final. So you got to dance twice. You went and got a gold and a silver, huh?
Well, at Midwest City, it was a situation where me and Evans was bumping heads, and so right before we were going to state, me and him kind of really clashed a little bit, and so I ended up, deciding to move on. Me and him kind of mutual agreement, and so I missed that one. Still was part of it. I mean, I was the starter half of the year, and so ended up at Memorial, which, like I said, it turned out, it worked out for the best. I mean, Evans is that's my guy now. Still mentor, still calling me about kids,
right
above. So yeah.
Ain't it a trip how things evolved, because it's like, man, I bet whenever you were in it. Well, I bet probably you was like, man, I don't think no good thoughts about this dude right now.
Of course, yes.
But now, how long did it take for y'all to actually have, I guess, a conversation to where those fences got mended?
As I became an adult, man, we got to reunite, ran into him back again. He was at UCO.
Yeah.
And it was no love lost. He understood that he was a young coach. I was a young man that, missing that father figure in my life, not understanding how to take that guidance that he was trying to instill in me at the moment.
Gotcha.
Like I said, being a kid.
Typical stuff.
Yeah. I was raised in the hood, typical story. Could get hot when I needed to get hot. I mean, so it was just one of those situations. I just didn't agree with the situation. And as I became an adult, I wish I had somebody to sit me down and say, no, he's right, you're wrong. You need to go back and apologize. You need to swallow your pride and go back and do what, finish up the season, do what you need to do, come back next year and show them you are the player that you claiming to be.
Now, was that your junior year when y'all had that class?
That was actually my junior year, yes.
Man, okay. So then it's like, it sucks when you look at it. I got one more round to go.
Yes.
Well, now you landed at Edmond Memorial, right?
Yes.
Was that your choice, or that's just what had to happen? Honestly, whenever you decided to leave?
No, my choice, I had very few options. Edmond Santa Fe was actually my choice at that time. They
All
were
right.
Fairly new school. But at the time, with my living situation, I had to go to Edmond Memorial. And so, but it worked out for the best. You're talking about a team that was, I believe, 12-12 before I got there.
Right.
Which we ended up turning around, going into state finals, losing to Norman that next year that I joined the team. So it worked out for the best. I wouldn't take the experience away for anything. It was, those life experiences would turn you into who you are, that you can kind of resort back to. So
for sure, man. That because all this stuff is brand new. This is the first real conversation that we're having about this kind of deal. But man, how motivated were you going into that senior season? Because I would imagine you had something to prove to Coach Evans. But was that the only thing that had that fire lit?
No, man. At that moment, I knew I was a college player. I didn't know what level. But and that was kind of me in his class, because I felt like I should have been starting and one of the main guys. But in reality, we had one of my good friends, Larry Reed, who ended up going. He ended up at K-State after he did JUCO. Ended up getting a trial with the LA Lakers.
There you go.
Yeah, another kid, Ryan Williams, who ended up going overseas. At that time, Steve Alexander was just coming in as a sophomore.
Yeah.
Sheldon Williams was following him as a freshman.
So these are names here.
Yeah. So I mean, we had a team. I mean, but I was still confident in myself, and so more than anything, it was motivation to prove to everybody that I was that guy that I said I was, and I had a little chip on my shoulder. So
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So. Now, what type of athlete were you? And the reason why I asked that is because I was a late bloomer. I jumped off the porch a little late, man. All I had was some height, and I could catch and shoot.
Yes.
And so everything else had to be developed, and confidence included.
Okay.
I didn't have it always. But what type of player were you early on?
I was early. It was something that naturally was done to me. And like us, it was a lot of hours at the park.
Yes, sir.
A lot of hours in multiple driveways, self-taught.
Sun up to sundown.
Yeah, I had brothers and uncles that hoop, but for the most part, it was me and my guys in the neighborhood that was kind of challenging each other and pushing it. But my stuff was natural. I naturally was one of the better players I remember from my days starting at the YMCA. The game felt easy to me. obviously I didn't have what these kids have today, somebody to sit you down and work like you need to work on your jumper. You need to work on your left hand. You know what I'm saying?
As opposed to just hooping.
Yeah, just hooping. Like, so I naturally was a good ball handler, point guard, pass first guy. Wanted to get to my mid-range jumper. So all that stuff was natural to me, man. And it's just, like I said, my athleticism came in late, but everything else was there from an early age.
I sure wish that mid-range would come back around, man.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I still teach it.
You got to, man. You ain't gonna get all the way to the cup every time.
No, you're not.
Man, okay, well, post high school, what ended up happening? What'd your career do next, man? After you graduated from Edmond Memorial, what was the next chapter?
That was a challenging part because we went up to a camp, Tulsa camp at the time. Bill Self was there.
Yes, sir. Remember that
Of course,
era.
he's alumni of Edmond Memorial, and so he took a little bit notice to me and one of my guys that I graduated, became good friends. We're still good friends today. Kelly Allen, who ended up going to Oklahoma Christian. He took a liking to us. Told us we was both Division I players at the moment. Didn't know what level, what schools, different things of that nature. But he said based on our camp performances and different things. So in my head, I'm going into the season thinking, okay,
can't nobody tell me that.
What's going on? Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Obviously, my numbers didn't match what they should have been because there were some things I needed to work on. So I ended up getting an opportunity to go up to John Wooden, which is in Quincy, Illinois. 9-hour drive. Yeah.
That's rough, man.
Ended up talking to the coach, doing everything via phone at that time, no visit, anything. So he wanted to make sure I got on campus to see it. Got there, campus wasn't bad, but it was typical JUCO.
Yeah. And usually not a whole lot there, man.
No, it's not a whole lot to it.
And you're an inner city kid.
Yes, he got 4 kids in one room, and at this time, obviously it was full of Chicago and Detroit kids.
Yeah, man. Straight Midwest cats.
Yeah, I'm the only Oklahoma boy coming in, so they kind of staring me down, sizing me up when I come in. I spent not even a semester there. Ended up coming home.
Right.
It just wasn't. He wanted to redshirt me. I was $150.
Ooh, wee.
Yeah.
How tall were you at the time?
I probably 6'1.5". I hadn't grew so much more. Yeah.
Oh man, you had some evolution coming in.
Yeah, 6'1.5", $150, wet. And so when we got there, obviously he was like, "Man, I want to redshirt you, put some weight on you." And just that being the first time being away from home for that length of time, and just not having the best of experience up there. I mean, the coach was great, but it just wasn't. I was itching to come home, and again, not having that father figure to be like, "No, sit down, ride it out, go through the grind."
Right.
So I ended up coming home. Mills was somebody at the time. Rose State still had their team.
True that.
And,
I remember that era too.
So Mills was somebody who always followed me, and he was like, "Come on home, come back and play." So I got back. I had to sit out that remaining season that they had going on from second semester. Got into going into the next semester, and he kind of brought in some guys from out of state that he kind of thought he was, he wanted to go with. So again, at that time, just like, man, I want to go to school. I want to go finish up. Let me go get my degree.
Right.
Got that, started working, doing insurance, farmers, different things of that nature, and was like, this is not the life.
Yeah, this ain't the move for you.
Yeah, went back, got my master's degree from OU, and just kind of really dove into what was going on and what I was doing in mental health field and different things of that nature, trying to build up my business.
Man, that's a major deal because I think that's sort of like, I don't want to say trendy, but that seems to be commonplace with a lot of coaches starting in the behavioral health field or the mental health field.
Yes.
Cause that's where I began before I got my credentials as a teacher.
Okay.
And it helped me, man. It helped me become more relationship oriented because it's like I really learned that fundamental principle that the kids don't really care what you know till they know how much you care.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
to give me a little bit about that run, man. How long were you in the mental health field, and what were some of your experiences you encountered?
I probably did that for about a good 15 years.
Really?
Yeah, I actually exited from that directly into coaching.
Man.
At the time, I had built up a program, Impact Athletics.
Heard of it.
Yeah, so and it grew fast. I mean, at one point we had 15 basketball teams, another 5 or 6 baseball teams, and then our Little League football program, which a good friend of mine is still running to this day, which is actually, they've gotten some nationwide recognition. And so it grew, and we were able to, like I said, that mental health background allowed me to go get those kids that were coming from those neighborhoods that I came from, and easily relate to them. I understood what they was going through. Sometimes I was picking them up for practice, picking them up for games, all the
if you pick them up, you got to take them home,
of
too.
course, you got to take them home, make sure they ate some days, because I knew that was probably a meal they didn't have from, used to being at school eating. Now we in the summer, so that run kind of, like I said, it's what led me to where I'm at now, because honestly, I always told people I had multiple opportunities, and I was like, I don't know if I want to coach in school.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot. And that makes total sense, though.
Yeah.
I understand why people were like, ooh, let me ease back.
Yes.
Or ease into it. Okay, so what were some of your hang-ups as to what made you think twice about it? Was it like I can't be as hands-on as I want to be? Like, what were some of the drawbacks?
That was a lot of it. Because I was able to have relationships with kids that you normally can't have as a teacher.
I smell what you're cooking.
Yes, and so I was able to be really realistic with a lot of my kids and really have those down-to-earth conversations and different things that we could talk to them when you're not afraid of what they're going to go home and tell their mama and come back and tell the principal and, different things of that nature. And so, plus I loved just the relationships that I built with them. And then also, we built the program up to where it became a national contender. I mean, we ranked number 22 in the nation, going into high school with the group that I had kind of started with. And so those different things, just kind of, I didn't know if I could still be able to do the same stuff that I'm doing now at that moment. Because like I said, I wasn't in it.
Got you. Man, was it ever hard, or is it still hard for you to not take some of your work home with you?
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like anybody who's any good at what they do, it's going to happen to some degree.
It does. I mean, you love what you do, so naturally it's hard to turn that switch off. Luckily, I have a wife who, she's been on that road with me. She's grinded it out. She understands that this is my first love. And so she's okay with sitting there and helping me watch film or helping me break stuff down. And everybody doesn't have that.
Right.
Yeah, and so I was blessed with that. And like I said, us kind of going through it together and kind of seeing the ins and outs of it, it grew on both of us. And she's a fan.
I feel that, man. I know that makes it easy. So now you ain't got to coach her through watching it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Y'all both know what you're looking at. That's a beautiful thing. Okay, so when did you finally say, all right, man, to hell with it, I'm gonna go ahead and get into this school thing as a coach?
I was in an opportunity. I was in a job that kind of ran its course. I felt like I was just punching the clock and running numbers.
Right. Fire wasn't burning.
Yeah, I had a grant that I was completely controlling, and I felt like they were looking at numbers more than actual results. And opportunity came up to me, and a good friend of mine who's a mentor, friend, family now, Katie Bass.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah,
good lady, man.
Yeah, so she, we got connected through mutual friends, and she gave me that opportunity to come over there and sit on the bench with her at Midwest City, and that kind of, I fell in love with it at that point. I understood the 5 days, 6 days a week grind that you can actually put in, where I couldn't get that with my kids in the summer.
Man, that's major. Now, were you there with her during her first year when they went and got the title?
I came out the second year.
Okay.
Following year.
That's the second year.
I wish I'd have been able to benefit from that.
Yeah, go ahead and get that hard win.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, okay. So when you say you understood the grind of it, right? Was there any trepidation stepping into it? But like, okay, man, it's girls, man. Or had you already coached girls before?
I had touched girls. I had trained girls. We had girls on the side of our program as well.
Gotcha.
And so I was coming into a situation where a lot of those girls were actually going to feed into that program.
Oh, man.
So I was very familiar with a lot of them. The ones who were already there, I had relationships with their parents. I went to school with them. I played ball with them. So
it was city, baby.
So it was an easy transition for me. More than anything was coming in, I'd been a head coach since I started.
Right.
And
you were
so,
used to running your show.
So coming in, having to sit back and understand that this is what she needs from me. How can I really help her from my side of it? And it took us that first year for us to kind of really figure it out. But after that, I mean, we kind of clicked, and she kind of knew what I brought to the program. I knew what she was really, really good at, and she kind of found a way to mesh me into the game plan every day.
Gotcha.
The practice plan and different things that was going on. So,
would you say that she was clear to you in the beginning about, hey, this is what I need from you, or was it a matter of you carving out a lane for yourself?
I think it was a matter of me letting her know that I was very comfortable with her leading. And,
okay.
And
that's key.
It was me not coming in, letting her know that I wasn't trying to come in and step on any toes.
Right.
This is your show. I'm here to run with you, and try to enhance what you already have here. And I think that was just a combination of both of us getting a feel for each other.
Right. Yeah. Now, when she ended up, breaking camp and going to Mustang, where did that leave you?
Well, I actually, before she left Mustang, I was kind of at a crossroads in a situation where I actually was about to go back into the workforce.
Really?
Yeah.
Had a change of heart, or just life happened?
Well, life happened. At this time, I'd actually transferred my program over to Oklahoma PWP. So at this time now, we're full blown on the Under Armour circuit. I'm coaching all these Division I kids and seeing this atmosphere that's going on, and kind of I had some opportunity presented to me to actually maybe move to college. And so I was really, really thinking hard on that, and if I wanted to do that at the moment. And so at that time, luckily, this opportunity presented itself. The head coach at the time left in June. And so it was a late situation. Got word of it from a good friend of mine who's actually out here, and everything worked out for the best for it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So.
And man, how was that feeling? Getting that first gig. Well, not the first, because you've been in the driver's seat before, but it's your first program, right?
Yes.
That's yours, and it's in the school system, something that you were fighting against for the longest, and it's at the highest, most competitive class in the state, man.
Yes.
How elated were you when you got that word?
Man, I was excited, a little bit foolishly excited, thinking I could come in here, we're gonna do things my way.
Immediately.
Run it. Yeah, we finna go chase the gold ball day one, like.
Right. I know that.
And reality set in. You understand the players that you have, the work that you need to get into it. It's a great program. It's a great atmosphere as far as from top to bottom, from superintendent down to the principal. But I came in super excited, thinking I could just come in and do the things that I was doing. Because here it is, I just put 9 kids into Division I schools.
Right.
My last summer team. So
Exactly.
I'm thinking I can come in and kind of run the same stuff and do the same things. And then you realize quickly, like, that's not the situation.
Right.
Let's make some adjustments and coach to the talent that you have, and bring them up to speed.
Man, that's major. But being gung ho like that and ready to work, I don't know how you not feel like that going into it. Whether it's your first gig or if it's your 7th one.
Of course.
But here's something that I don't know if you knew, but I remember when the Choctaw job came open, because I had interviewed for it myself.
Oh, did you? Okay.
And one thing I remember is that, number one, I went in there and it may have been the most people on any panel that I had been interviewed by. It was like 4 or 5 of them, but their energy, and I could tell by just their demeanor, and once they opened their mouths, each of them, and started talking, them dudes were serious about winning.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Now, how important is that to you to have that level of advocacy, that backing, but also letting letting you know what the standard is? Hey, man, we want to win, coach.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Because you talk to other coaches, friends of mine that I've made over the years, and they've had situations where their first job was not that.
Right.
It was more about the kids, or making sure certain kids got on the floor, or certain kids within the program, different things of that nature. And they let me know from day one that they supported me. They supported everything that was going on, and like you said, they want to win. As you see, you can look up here in these banners. We don't have one up here.
Right.
And so that's my motivation. I want to repay them by putting a competitive team on the floor on a nightly basis, turning this into a winning product.
For sure. And before we morph into, how your 2 runs have been, because you just finished your 2nd season, right?
Yes.
But there are 2 things that I think the common mind may not understand that there's a big difference between coaching and running a program.
Yes.
Okay, so to that you would say what? What does a full regular day for Coach Simpson look like?
Full regular day. Obviously, I'm in a classroom.
Okay.
So that's a priority to me as well.
Sure.
Make sure my students are getting the necessary tools that they need to learn the subject that I'm teaching.
Absolutely.
I got to turn those tables. I got to get those grades in. But once I clock out from that classroom, practice planning, making sure equipment is together, making sure your players are together, checking grades, making sure everybody's the NCAA stuff is done, making sure ACT and all those testing things are put into place. Obviously, as far as scheduling, your scrimmages and everything else that goes with it, making sure buses are ready, making sure it's a whole long list of things that you have to do. And I said all that before I said get on the floor and actually put a plan together for practice.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, like I can
the
do
easy
that in my
part.
sleep. Yeah, so, but my background helped me do that. Running multiple non-for-profit programs, running my own programs that actually, got up to the levels that they did. It prepared me for a lot of that. And so it made a lot of that easy in the sense that that's where that taking work home sometimes goes. getting that plan together the night before so that you can have a smoother transition into your practice.
With you being in that leadership role as often as you have, was it difficult for you to delegate responsibilities in the beginning?
It wasn't.
It wasn't
at all.
Okay.
No, it wasn't. I had multiple years at it, and it helped because I came in with a good staff.
There you go.
That was willing to learn and was eager to get out there. We had one guy that was left over from the previous staff, which he helped me a lot with everything on how it was done here, the expectations from where they were to what I'm bringing in, and different things on how to help the kids get through this transition of me coming in with my ideals and my what I wanted to focus on.
One thing that I've derived a theory, man, because I've coached girls and boys myself, and I think based on my experiences, girls trusted a little bit sooner than the fellas did.
Yes.
I always feel like the boys got to keep touching that stove, man.
You do.
And especially if you come in as a new coach and you got a senior laden team.
Yes.
So and then they've been rocking one way for 3 years, and here you come. Did you run into some of that?
I did. You come in and you got some seniors who they were used to things being done a certain way.
Right.
And so the expectations were there that, okay, he's coming in, he's going to put me in, I'm going to play, this is what's going on. And, certain programs, that's how it's been done. And obviously with me and where I've came from, if you can play, you can play.
Right.
If you're a freshman, senior, if you can play, you can play. And that's kind of what I've kind of had to get everybody adjusted to. And it's been a great thing, man. So now you have young guys coming in here saying, Coach, I want to get in the gym. I want to get in the weight room. You know what I'm saying? Trying to push that envelope instead of saying, well, I'm just going to wait my 3 years.
And then I'm going to age into it?
Yeah.
Don't work like that.
Yes, exactly.
I'm glad. That's a great point, though. I want to ask you this, man, because I see all the work that you're doing in the basketball space, period. Not just as far as Choctaw High School goes, but even what you do, with Team Griffin and things like that in your AAU situation over the summer. But I'm always curious to know how, if any difference, do you coach or treat your high-profile athletes versus those who may not have as high a profile?
I would say no different, but in reality, the expectations are a little bit higher for those who have those opportunities to go play at a high level.
Right.
They're held a little bit more accountable than others. The accountability is the same across the board as far as what I expect from my players. But obviously, if you did the work and you put yourself in a position, like I always tell my players, you can't act the same. You can't move the same. You can't do everything that everybody else can do. Unfortunately, that's just reality because you're going to be pinpointed and highlighted. If 10 of y'all go out and get in trouble, they're going to say, yeah, the kid that just committed to such as whatever school was the one that I noticed.
Yeah, it's going to be Jermaine and them.
Of course.
And
yes,
them. You know what I'm
yes.
saying? Well, but you're right, though, man. It may not be fair, but it's real.
It is.
It comes
Yep.
with the territory.
Yep.
Okay, so man, walk me through that first season. Season number 1, all right? You the head coach at Choctaw High School for the boys. You that fire's lit. You geeked up. You ready to go. Man, how was that from the first game to the last game?
First game, we come out Midwest City. Obviously, I just left Midwest City.
Yeah. Was it there or here?
We were actually here.
Home game.
No, I'm sorry. We were at Midwest City. I'm sorry.
On the road.
No, I take that back. I apologize. Let me rewind it.
You gonna rewind?
Yeah, we went to PCO, Public City Original.
Okay.
First game of the year, 50-piece.
No shit. Didn't know. A 50-piece.
50-piece.
Man, that's rough, dog.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so my first question is, did you stay standing up the whole game?
No.
You didn't?
No. I took my honorary seat.
Okay.
I took my whooping and sat down.
Damn. That's tough, Coach.
50 ball. Yeah, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I appreciate Daniels for putting that on me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's like, so obviously that's a tough blow for any competitor.
Of course.
So 2 things. What do you go into that dressing room and say to those guys after that game, and where do you start the next day when you get in that lab? Are y'all washing that away and starting to look at the next game, or it's like, no, we got to address this before we move on?
Definitely addressed it because
Okay.
I had some guys on the team who thought they should have been getting more minutes. Thought some guys who played more minutes thought that they should have got more shots. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So
Never mind the 50 piece.
yeah, we're gonna remove that. So it allowed me to go back and kind of address some things. But with me as a coach, first, obviously when you go in the locker room, initially it's about the kids,
Right.
Because you need to address them, get them out, get on what you're doing. But with me, when I get home, it's about me and my staff. What do we need to adjust? What can we change? How can we get up to speed? Because we actually had some talent, were young in a sense, but we should have never lost a game by that amount.
Right. And when you say young, would you mean young in classification or experience?
Both.
Okay.
I didn't have one kid returning on that roster who had varsity experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a difference, as you know.
It's huge. Yeah.
So that next day of practice, what was that like? What was the atmosphere like?
Very intense.
Okay.
You know, typical. A lot of running.
It's gonna be a grind.
Yeah. We finna go ahead and get a lot of this out of y'all. I'm gonna discipline you for your turnovers and missed free throws, of course. At the same time, hold myself accountable and let them know that, you know, I'm at fault for a lot of things that I didn't do, some adjustments I didn't make, some things that I didn't put into the game plan before we went over there. So I definitely made that aware that, you know, I'm gonna hold myself accountable for what it's worth first.
Got you.
Yeah.
You know what? I always think that there's a point in every season where a coach can see his or her team starting to turn that corner. You see that light bulb slowly starting to get on. Was there a point in that first season where you saw that? And if so, when was it?
Now fast forward to the Midwest City game. So we play them the first time, and we lose by, I think it stretched out to about 18, 19, 20, somewhere around there.
All right.
So we go and play them the second time, and we down 1 at half.
Okay.
Ended up losing the game by 5.
Oh, yeah.
So at that point, it kind of even let the boys know, like, okay, we can play. We can run with some people in 6A and actually make a run at this. Going forward, obviously, we ended the year at Edmond Memorial, #1 team in the state. And again, played them well, though. Played them well without one of my starters who actually injured himself in a couple games before that. And so even with that, it allowed me to say, okay, we got something out here. We got something that we can kind of turn and figure it out and you know, and turn this thing around.
Man, when it comes into tapping into that mental of the guys, because we've been their age before and then some,
of course,
but they've only been where they are. So you know that there's a part of them that's thinking, yo, we the underdogs, we got nothing to lose.
Yes.
But you know, it's that other side that's like, man, look who we playing, yo. This could be the last night.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you shift that focus to, listen, forget about the possibility that we could win, we could lose. What if we win, though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That'll be the talk of the town. Like, how were you able to work on that part of them?
It was a constant effort. You had to constantly do it. You had to find new ways, being creative. And as a coach, you got to be creative in the things that you're doing in practice to kind of showcase that and show them. And even in film, going back and showing them little things to where, okay, we turned the ball over 2 times in the fourth quarter. The game, we was down 4. It stretched out to 10.
Right.
Trying to highlight those moments and pointing out the successes as well.
Yeah.
Not losing that. And, I mean, because we went 2-22 that first year.
Yeah.
So trying to get them to understand we had a lot of successes. We had a lot of tight games. We was in a lot of games going into the fourth quarter and, you know, lost it at the start of it. You know, coming out, they made a good run and we just never could get back from it. So trying to get them to understand quarters 1 through 3, we competed. We were right there if we went up that fourth quarter. So trying to get them to understand the small stuff that we need to adjust on our end, you know, to make sure we can get through the fourth.
I think that's a very heady move by you, because looking at the bottom line being 2-22, you would think in your mind, man, ain't a whole lot of positive for us to be talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so when the season is over, you know, whether you lose the first game of regionals or if you play all the way to the finals, how long do you typically take off to decompress yourself? You know what I mean? So you don't keep burning that candle on both ends, man.
And it's what's crazy is because I don't get a chance to. Obviously, with me, you know, coaching high-level summer ball, that next weekend is tryouts. So it's state, Saturday, Sunday is typically tryouts. Practice that following week. We usually got 2 weeks to kind of grind it out and get ready for whatever event we got coming up.
Right. So, man, so do you ever feel it to where, does your body ever let you know, hey, coach, you've been running hard, it's time to sit it down, young fella?
This year, this pandemic has been a blessing, man.
Yeah.
It really allowed me to sit down and kind of, because, you know, I got a new daughter.
Yes, sir, you do.
Yeah, and so it kind of allowed me to sit down and really seeing her go from crawling to walking to now climbing, you know. and it made me appreciate the time that I was missing. Just being home, you know, just me and my wife being able to kind of, you know, wake up and go do small stuff at the park, and, you know, and just it just took that time for it, because other than that, I would have been right back in the grind.
Right.
I'd have been right back in the mix. I'd have been right back doing what
Right on
I
that
do.
hamster wheel,
Yeah.
baby. Now I'm gonna ask you a little sappy question real quick.
Yes.
Now, with you having a brand new baby girl, now have you noticed any difference or any differences in the way that you communicate with your players now after maybe being softened up a little bit by baby girl?
If anything, it's probably hardened me up on them.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because what I don't want her to do is come in here and feel like anybody's walking around and loafing off on me, man.
I feel that.
I gotta have a balance.
Sure.
Because I go home and she's looking at basketball and she's rah 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 at the screen, and I said, okay, you've been watching me way too much now. So yeah,
turning up the heat.
Yeah. So, but it's made me appreciate it more than anything. And like I said, it's made me really, really dive into the craft and say, man, I really want to be successful at this. I really want her to see me at that end, doing my thing and enjoying it and loving it. And so it's kind of turned it up a little bit for me, honestly.
When would Choctaw normally get back in the mix? Do y'all take spring break off for a week or a couple weeks?
I give them that first week off.
First week off. Huh?
I give them that following week off, and then of course with the situation with us coming off that losing season, we right back in the weight room.
Sure.
Right back in the weight room, right back on skills and drills, and with me being on that other side of things, I knew that this was only going to help these boys going into their summer teams.
Absolutely.
I wanted to make sure that they was polished and they was working on the things that they needed to work on for these college coaches to take notice when they went to these events. And so me starting on that side of it allows me to understand that both of these sides can balance out and work together, and you can really help these kids reach their goals.
I like what you're saying there, man, because there is a such thing as both of these entities working together.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because you hear a lot of, I know I do, I hear a lot of negative talk about AAU basketball, and some of it is warranted.
Very true. Yes.
But I've seen it work in the other direction.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But before we jump into that, do you share many athletes?
As far as
Dual sports, you got football guys.
Yes, I do.
Oh yeah, so I imagine, do you lose a big chunk after the season?
I do. I got not a big chunk.
Okay.
I keep my core. The core guys are basketball guys, but I do have a small portion that goes back to football or moves on to track. And so that's something that, as a basketball coach, you love basketball.
For sure.
You want to get back into it, but as a fan of these kids and coming from that mental health side, I understand that basketball is not everybody's lane. It's not what's going to get everybody to the next level. So I completely support, which is something that's, I don't know how many guys can say this, but I've heard it both ways, how basketball and football coaches don't necessarily get along at every school.
Yeah.
Love what they're doing, love the program. We really work well together in making sure that the kids get the benefit of both.
That's for sure, man.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for the kids to see that too.
It is.
You know what I mean? Don't we ain't beefing. I'm not saying anything negative. I'm actually showing up at the games to come watch you work.
Right there. Yeah.
Let me ask this: Have you figured out a way to not make off season feel like practice? And I know one of the moves I make is subtle, but I make sure that I put the whistle up. I don't use the whistle again until October.
No. I put the whistle up. It's typically my voice.
Gotcha.
It's typically us getting in here. I mean, even with me, I can't do it like I used to, but I'll lace it up.
There you go.
We getting up and down.
Same.
Yeah, we playing cutthroat. Yeah, we
it.
playing ones. I'll lace it up with them. I'll get out here and shoot my jumpers, make my passes.
Yeah.
And they won't go at me. So
for sure.
Yeah.
But if for some reason with boys, I feel like they respect us on a different level once they know, okay, yeah, coach got some game.
Yeah.
He got some game.
You can tell he can play a little bit.
I think I can listen to him.
Yeah.
All right. Now, when it comes to the summer, as far as your school basketball team, I know it sort of gets tricky. I think it has in recent years, trying to figure out just how much time you want to take from them and how much time you need to give them to either just be kids or to go play with their respective AAU teams. So what does a summer for Choctaw basketball look like?
Well, with us, obviously June, in a normal world, no pandemic, obviously June is school ball.
For sure.
And so that's my focus. Once they get out of school in May, I let them go do whatever they're doing, even within that time. If they got to miss a Friday because they're traveling or whatever it is, I understand it. I respect it. I've been on that side of it.
Yeah.
I'm telling them, hey, send me a schedule. It's streaming live. I'm right there locked in watching it. June is me back at school, like I said. And that's what I ask the kids. Give me that time. Be present on what we're doing. Any workouts, any conditioning, anything that we're doing in June.
Doing good. Recording, baby.
You're all right.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that, man.
It's my AD there.
That's
so.
AD. Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Must be a good man.
Yes.
Now, are you a team camp guy, or are you team camp and summer league?
I do both.
Oh, look
in
at
the
you.
past. Yeah, I've done both. So we go find a summer league to get into, which typically we're out there at Edmond Memorial.
Yeah, that's always the class. That's the best one.
And which they were already in it previously, and I just left it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also like to enjoy team camps as well, and trying to give them a different experience. We'll go to UCO and one year, and then next year we'll be up at Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
Then we try to mix in OSU. I mean, I try to give them that experience of different ones and different teams.
When it comes to coaching them in the team camps versus the summer league, is there a different approach that you're taking in one versus the other? Or are you coaching, you trying to win? You trying to win every one of these games in team camps and summer league?
It's got to be a healthy balance.
Okay.
I want to play everyone.
For sure.
I want them to develop. I want them to come back and kind of see the things we've been working on and kind of put them into play. As well as you want to create that winning atmosphere. It kind of starts in the summer. If you can go steal some wins and beat some programs, and it's kind of like us. Like last summer, we went down to OSU and had a really good team camp. Beat some high quality teams that had some really good players, and it allowed us to kind of carry that into the season.
Man. And I remember that team camp too, dog. I was up there with Coach Jeffries in
Yeah,
Millwood.
so
There was some heavy hitters up there.
Yes.
Okay, now rolling into your second season, the one that got unfortunately shortened for everybody. Did anything feel different coming into that?
It felt a lot different.
Okay.
I had a few new players come in.
All right.
So that always helps.
Definitely.
And
if they can play.
If they can play, of course, if they can play. And it increased that competitiveness in practice.
Yeah.
I had guys who maybe thought for sure I got this spot next year. It's locked in. And you see this guy come in that who plays your position. Now it's like, okay, I got to really work. I got to really stay on my A game. And so it created that kind of buzz for us that, we were coming to compete. We had an opportunity to beat some teams. And it made some other teams. We were no longer that team in 6A that everybody was looking at to say, hey, we're going to get everybody in today.
This a night off.
Yeah, we're going to get everybody in today. No,
Right.
You had the game plan for us now.
That's a big time deal. Now, did you guys? How did this particular season finish? Because I know I should know the answer to that, but I don't know right off the top.
No, you're fine. We actually finished up, I want to say 14 wins.
Okay. Big jump.
Yeah, huge jump. Especially we went, like I said, we had 3 wins early at the Hera tournament. We ended up winning the Hera tournament.
There you go.
And which that's the first tournament of the year. We lost the first 2 regular season games, so we end up 3-2 coming out the first 5 games. Lose the next 5 games.
Oh man, hit that slide.
Yeah, and it was kind of like, okay, I thought we was finna, but we could always look at it. Every game was by 2, 3, 4, 5.
You close.
Yeah, so everything was 1 or 2 possessions that kind of cost us, and so some things shifted, and like I was telling you earlier, we ran off the next 9. Out of the next 10 games, we went 9-1, and so now the boys are really like, okay, we can go make a run for something. Then they starting to really buy into what's going on. Practice is locked in. Everybody's moving, game speed and drills, and so
the buy-in was going up then.
Yes.
During that slide, was it tough to keep the guys' morale up to par?
At times.
Okay.
And you have those, and you've been coaching. You got those situations that come about in practice, and certain guys feel like they should be getting more time. And again, going back to that same stuff, especially when you lose a couple games.
Yeah.
I feel like I should be in there.
Yeah, and you probably felt like that a couple weeks ago. We were winning.
Yeah, of
so
course.
I ain't gonna say nothing.
Yeah, Coach took me out because I made this many mistakes. And so those things start to come out and heighten themselves. And so, and then you look back at it, and like I said, then you go on that run, and now everybody's like, okay, I like what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Man, was any of it some personnel changes that needed to be made as far as tweaking the lineup or bumping somebody up in rotation or cutting somebody out? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely personnel, and we made some adjustments, moved some people around. You had some minutes, and I'm big on us going into a game plan and understanding who we finna sub in here, who's finna move here. Obviously, the game dictates how that goes sometimes, but me and the staff kind of sat down and said, okay, let's move this guy up. Let's give him a little bit more burn. Let's get him in a little bit more earlier. Let's kind of move him. If he come out hot and he hit a couple shots, let's leave him out.
Let him
if
roll.
he don't, let's go ahead and pull this other guy in who gives us a little bit more impact maybe on defense.
For sure. I would say that I'm gonna throw something mention. I want you to, tell me whether I'm crazy or on point. Because I think a lot of people, whenever they're choosing not just a starting five, but a five to put on the court, they'll say, "Hey, my best five."
Yes.
But that's kind of loaded because while we saying our five best players or our most cohesive unit, and to me, I think it's the most cohesive unit. What do you say?
Yeah, well, it has to be the most cohesive unit,
Yeah.
and even within that, I would say, what five gives us the best chance to satisfy every situation on the court? Meaning, who's my best defender? Who's going to rebound for us? Who's our best shooter? Who's the guard that's going to get everybody else going? It's not necessarily the best five players, but what five can I put on the court at that situation to where we don't have a major drop-off in a particular area?
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think it's also good to have some firepower coming off of that bench.
You have to.
You don't want to be like, man, I gotta sub this cat out, but we're gonna be depleted if I do.
Yes.
It's that old balance right
Yes.
there, man. So we get into March. All right, we got the first day of the state tournament, March the 12th. I'm
Yes.
thinking it was something to that effect. We're getting ready to go into the state tournament, then the world shuts down, man,
Yes.
due to COVID-19. Man, how long was it before you got to have any particular contact with your team in any capacity?
It wasn't until OSSA cleared everyone to start doing some small things. So
Right.
that was in June.
And small things are so vague.
Yes.
I was like, man, okay, where's the line, man?
Yeah.
I need y'all to let me know.
Who's going to touch it, who's not. And so it was good because the larger schools all said we're going to all kind of mirror each other.
Okay.
No one school's going to have more contact with their kids than the other. And so it kind of allowed us. So we were able to get back in here, have some small camps obviously with all the restrictions and
For sure.
those things put into place. And so it was good, though. I mean, the boys came in happy to see us.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see them. And, because at that time, I'm sending out – we had a couple of Zoom sessions. I'm constantly sending out things over our team app that I have with the players on workouts daily. One of our assistant coach he acts as our strength and conditioning coach because he's just top-notch shape. But
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so
Yoked up, baby.
yoked up. So he took the time out to kind of put a plan together for them to follow at home. I handled a lot of skill and ball handling drills and shooting drills and different. So we tried to keep them active and hold them accountable as much as possible.
As much as possible.
Yeah. So some did it. Some got serious. Some was sending me videos of them getting up at 6 a.m. running, and some of them I never heard from.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
That's right. So, was it a pretty good turnout once they were able to start coming back around in
It
person?
was.
That's good. Man.
For the most part, everybody who has ambitions of playing varsity or played varsity last year, they were present.
See, that's major right there.
Yeah.
All right, now I got to ask you the comparison question. What is the difference, if any, between coaching high school basketball at a school versus coaching AAU basketball? And like the reason, what I'm really wanting to get to the bottom of is because I always wonder, even just this past weekend, I was at the closed session,
Yes.
you know what I mean? And it was some good quality run going.
Yes.
And I'm like, sometimes I'm wondering, okay, are we coaching when it comes to AAU? Are we coaching to get these guys featured and exposed?
Yes.
Or are we still trying to go and win like we trying to win from November to March? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, definitely. Especially with us, in the situation we're in, to be blessed in, to be on a circuit,
Right.
which is completely different than – it's not completely different, but it is different than just your regular tournaments that you may go play in around here in the city.
Right.
We're playing against coaches. A lot of these teams have Division II, NAIA, junior college coaches as their head coaches. And so we have the ability, different apps such as Synergy or different things of that nature. So when you're going into a game, this coach is yelling out your sets. These kids know your plays.
Wow.
So these are college situations to where you're going against a college coach who's breaking down film the night before. And so, and I'll tell you a funny story real quick.
Go for it.
Our first time, we're in New York City, first session, 4 games. We go out there. After the first 2 games, we're finna play the third game, and I call out a play, and the whole defense on the other end shifts.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, okay, did they just do that? And I come back down, call a different play, and they read it. I'm like, okay, man, what is going on here?
It's like, man, they got the cheat code
Yeah,
for real.
but come to find out, we had the synergy, but we didn't even, us being new to that atmosphere, these coaches that went back after game 1 and already started watching everybody's films that they was going to play for the next 3 games and breaking stuff down to the players and already had scouting reports on kids.
Right.
And so to answer your question, yeah, you're playing to win. You have the ability. You're blessed to have these kids who have a chance to go play, whether it's high major, low major, mid major, D2, NAIA. These kids can play.
Right.
And so you now have the ability to not be in high school where you might get a 6'8" kid,
in Oklahoma, that's a blessing.
Yeah, if you get one of the, where you put in a situation where you can actually go out here and have a 7-footer, 6'8". You got a 6'4" point guard in some situations. Mm-hmm. You got freakishly athletic kids who you can draw lob plays for. You can do a lot of different things. So no, you're going to win. That's the game plan. These college coaches want to see these kids compete in a structured atmosphere.
How responsive or receptive are these particular athletes whenever you got to get up in them?
I mean, it's like any other job. I mean, it's really no difference from AAU to high school with that.
Good.
Some come from great situations at home to where they're very respectable, they're very coachable, they want to learn, they're eager to get out there and do the things the right way.
Right.
And then you got those kids who may be a lot better than a lot of other kids naturally, so they feel like I can do and say what I want because my high school coaches allow me to get away with whatever because he's afraid of losing me.
Right.
Yeah, so
and I hate that, but it's the reality.
It is, yeah.
But now, you just talked about a bunch of schematics, man, which is really good, and it's definitely a place in the game for the analytical part of it.
Yes.
But do you ever find yourself in those moments as a coach, man, whether it's at Choctaw or if it's with Team Griffin, where it's like, all right, we've exhausted all the options on this whiteboard.
Yes.
It's about mano y mano, you and that other guy. Now, you ever had those moments where it's like, man, this ain't a whiteboard timeout?
Yeah. Well, and I actually got that more so from the summer.
Okay.
Coming into school situations, you want to overanalyze, and you almost want to. A lot of people get lost in almost overcoaching kids in situations.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got a kid who just can go. He can just go get you a bucket, and you got to give him that freedom to go take maybe one or two bad shots to kind of get himself going. And I know not everybody understands that, but if you know the game, you understand. Like a James Harden, for example.
Yeah.
You can't put him in a box.
No, you can't.
Yeah, if he's going to come down and hit you with a 7-dribble combo and pull up, you got to kind of live with it because you understand what he brings to the game. You understand what he brings to your team. And so, no, I had to kind of – I mean, there's multiple times in the game to where it's not a whiteboard. It's me talking to you, me getting into you, me checking your heart at that moment. Do you want to go out here and just compete?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Now, when does the summer – normally, not now. When does the summer end to where it's like, all right, it's time for me to, check right back into being a Yellow Jacket now?
Yeah. Normally you go about to the end of July.
End of July, okay.
And so you're leaving July. I usually got about 2.5 weeks to kind of
just be still.
Yeah, and school ball.
Just like that fast.
First day, come in, meet them, go over rules, regulations. Second day,
we in the lab.
Yeah, we're going.
I like the way you broke that down. Yeah. Okay, now, what are Coach Simpson's hobbies that don't have nothing to do with basketball, man? Some stuff that you actually like to do whenever you sometimes flip that switch off.
I like to read a lot.
Yeah.
That's something a lot of people don't know. I will dive into some things and try to, and sometimes it's related to sports, sometimes it's not. But with me, really, just relaxation, man.
Yeah.
If I can get a day of doing nothing, and it's crazy, like I love being in my yard.
For sure.
Yeah, just small days like that where I can just, now with my daughter, obviously, anything that's new to her that's going to make her smile and run around and happy, I'm all for it. But with me, just rest. I really don't have too many hobbies now in life that I really get away from because I find myself back to basketball at some point.
Veering off, back into it. Man, well, you know what? I got a couple more things I want to throw at you, man. And one of them is this one right here. It's like, I don't think any of us get all the way to wherever the hell we trying to go.
Of course.
Totally alone.
Yes.
I think we need some help along the way. So if you can think of, anybody that you would consider to be the most impactful on you in the business of basketball.
Of course.
And then in life, like your go-to people, who would they be?
Basketball-wise, Rod Thompson.
Rod.
Yeah.
Coached me when I was a freshman.
Yeah, so good friend of mine. Like I said, when we linked up and kind of blended everything, was able to learn from him. As you know, he touched so many lives and put so many kids in school.
He did.
And so I was kind of able to pick his brain, not just basketball-wise, but just how the recruitment works. What type of skill sets actually transfer from high school to college. which a lot of people get lost in because, oh, this kid averaged 20. I don't know why D1 schools are not on him. Like, yeah, he only go right. He can only, like, you know what I'm saying? Like
something real simple.
Yeah. So, but with Rod, man, still to this day, we'll get on the phone every few days, you know, check in with each other, check in with the families, different things of that nature.
For sure.
Life, I mean, it's to this day, it's probably my mom, man.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, to this day,
mom's love is different.
Yeah,
man.
I try to think about somebody else who may have did something, but to this day, I mean, I talk to her daily. Mm-hmm. She's constantly checking in on me. You couldn't tell her I'm not still her baby.
That's right.
Yeah, and so that right there, and then plus, obviously, she, you know, she's being a grandmother. She's
eating that up.
Yeah, she's loving it. So
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Bro. Man, here's how we're going to wrap this thing up. You know, I always got to ask all my competitors that sit down with me, whether it's a coach or especially a player, past or present. We call it the all due disrespect segment, man.
Of course.
And what I mean is, I know we all can tap back into our memory bank, and it's a team that we played against when we were playing that beat us, and we feel like to this day that shouldn't have happened. And I'm pretty sure as a coach, you feel that same way. You let a game or here or there got away from you,
of course,
against a team that you feel like y'all were better than.
Definitely.
So if you could go back and run it back as a player and run it back as a coach, which ones would those be?
As a player, we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
We got to the championship, lost to Norman, who we beat 3 times.
Oh, that's hard, man.
In the regular season.
That's a hard thing to do, bro.
Twice in the regular season, one time in the tournament. We get to the championship down at Lloyd Noble, 6A state championship, and you know, my teammates are all like, man, they're not gonna beat us. We beat them 3 times, and I'm kind of like, hey man, y'all calm down. We got a game to go win. We got to. Ended up losing by 2.
God, I know they jumped for joy.
It was tough because it was a situation where their 2 best players we didn't know if they were going to play because their grandfather had passed away.
Oh man!
And so they had to go to a funeral that same day, that Saturday, but it was snowing. So we didn't think they were going to show up. So we're thinking, man, this might be a 20-point victory for a championship.
So that guard was let way down.
Man, we're warming up. It's crazy. We're warming up. You know how the Lloyd Noble is set up.
Absolutely.
We hear this just loud roar going crazy. And here come the Boylan brothers running down the stands to jump on the court to start warming up. And I don't know if it did something to my teammates or what, but it definitely gave them an extra spark.
Oh, boy.
And so that one for sure. As a coach, I'll say this again. The Midwest City game, the one we lost by 5. I thought we should have. I wanted it, obviously. I wanted it more for my boys than I wanted it for myself.
Man.
Because I thought that could have been a really, really good turning point. They had a great team, obviously.
Sure.
They was going to compete for a state championship. That first year, I know we weren't even supposed to be in that game.
Yeah.
We did some stuff that we naturally didn't do. Went zone and just tried to just junk up the game as much as possible.
Yeah, he said, hey, man, we're going to throw everything at him.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the scoreboard at halftime like 19-21, like, okay, I'm going to take you. Like,
it's close and it's low scoring.
Yeah, so.
Favors y'all.
Yeah, so that was one. And like I said, it got away. I mean, like I said, he had a great squad. They do what they do well over there, so.
And they have for quite some time.
Yeah, definitely.
Even in your era.
Of course, yeah, so.
Well, Coach, man, it's been a blast, my man.
And I appreciate it.
You know, I'm glad we were finally able to line it up and make it happen.
For sure.
And, you know, I'm definitely wishing you the best of luck moving forward if ever we can get back to some degree of normalcy here.
Definitely.
And I got your number now, so you can't run from it.
Yeah, I'm locked in. So
yes, sir.
I appreciate
Much
you, man.
love to you.
You too, man.